Happy Friday, wine lovers! It's Stephanie Miskew, certified sommelier and author of the blog, The Glamorous Gourmet, and welcome to my weekly Facebook Live show, Wines of the Week. I'm here with you every Friday at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, sharing wonderful wines you won't want to miss. So thank you so much for joining me. And on this fabulous Friday, April 6th, I'm kicking off our month-long journey into Italian wine. And you know what, as I mentioned yesterday during the promo, I have such a soft spot in my heart for Italian wines because it was actually during Steve and I, it was our first trip to Italy where I totally was smitten with wine. It was like a light bulb moment. I knew at that moment I wanted to change my career, and literally from the minute that plane skidded down the runway, I changed my job. I went to work for a wine distributor. I started pursuing credentials. And a few years later, I launched my blog. And you know what? I never looked back. And, you know, I wonder if we'd never taken that trip, if any of it would have happened. So I love, love, love Italian wines. And I think we're going to have so much fun this month exploring them. I just know it. So today we're going to be exploring the wines of one of my favorite wine regions. I haven't been here yet, but I love the wines. And the wine region is, drumroll, Campania. Thank you. I know I gave some clues yesterday, and I think Roland and Heather guessed correctly. There were a couple different regions it could have been, but we are, in fact, talking about Campania. And if you think of Italy as a boot, geographically, which it is, Campania is located kind of on the shin, the front part, the shin of the boot. And it's a really interesting area, cultural hub. You know, Mount Vesuvius, the Amalfi Coast are there. And this region has also made some delicious gastronomic contributions. Pizza, puttanesca sauce, and the calzone were all invented there. Like, who would not want to go there, right? But unfortunately, the wines of the region are not quite as mainstream. And they are so interesting. And it's funny because this is actually one of Italy's oldest wine regions. And it's produced one of the oldest, most ancient wines that's referenced in literature. It's called Falernum. But today, the region's producing super exciting wines solely from indigenous grape varieties. So we're going to have some fun today. And if you want to, thanks for joining me. If you want to take a minute and just let me know where you're watching from, or send up some emoji love, or let me know if you're familiar with the wines of Campania as we begin. Hold on one second. And okay, and every week, as you know, for those of us who have been here before, hold on, I'm just trying to pull this up. I do the same format every week. Every week I feature 4 wines around a theme. As I just said, for the rest of this month, it's going to be Italian wines. We'll be discovering a different region each month. Feel free to ask questions as I'm tasting through our 4 featured wines. That's what makes this so fun. I get to answer your questions in real time, respond to your comments. We always manage to have some fun, don't we? Let's see. Oh, there we are. Okay. I like to keep these to about 30 to 40 minutes. I know it's Friday. I know you've got places to go and people to see, so I'll keep it relatively short. And if you are watching this for the first time and you're watching it after the live broadcast, please go ahead and ask questions and leave comments as if you were watching it live, because I will get back to you, I promise. Okay, there we go. And now let me see all these fabulous people who have tuned in. Oh, fabulous. Laura, great to see you. Deb, Roland, awesome. The gang is here. We can officially start. Heather, and Heather's here with a glass of Aglianico. Cheers to you, Heather. You get extra points. And Deb, I think, has Deb says she got a 2015 red. Not that impressed. Is it a wine from Campania? I think you said it might have been. But in any event, you can let me know. But I think we should. Oh, you're having your Pinot. Not impressed. That can happen sometimes. Let me know what Pinot it is, and we'll talk about that a little later. But so let's jump into our tasting. And if you are just joining us, I'm Stephanie Miskew, and we are kicking off Italian Wine Month with the wines of Campania. And for those of you who like Italian wine, I'd say on the whole, when we think of Italian wine, we generally think of red wine. And if you think of white wine, we're generally thinking of something like Pinot Grigio. That's another reason I wanted to highlight this fabulous region because it produces 3 of my favorite white wines, actually. So it's known for these really cool indigenous white grape varieties that aren't made anywhere else in the world. So let's have some fun. The first wine we're going to try is from Cantina del Taberno, and it is their Greco. Let me see if I can flip the screen. Come on, screen. There we go. It is their Greco is the grape. The Greco white wine, Greco Beneventano. You got to say it with the hand. Greco Beneventano, but pretty label. You can see the unique shape of the bottle. It looks actually more like a Riesling bottle than what we usually purchase a white wine in here in Florida. But gorgeous bottle, wonderful grape, and again, we're talking the 2015 vintage. I almost forgot to pour myself some. Jesus, come on, Steph, it's Friday. All right, so, and another great thing about wines from Campania is because they're not that known around the world, they're amazing quality at a great price. Most of the wines today are under $20. This one is 20. 13% alcohol, perfectly reasonable, and just a beautiful wine. So I'm going to warn you right now, none of the grape varieties you're going to hear today are going to sound familiar because, again, these are all indigenous grape varieties to this region. But this is good. I mean, you don't want to hear, some wine regions have it down. For instance, you've got Piedmont and Tuscany that can produce these international grape varieties such as Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Cabernet Franc, and do amazing things with them, and that's fine. But I think when you're looking for something unique that, is little off the beaten path, and like I said, if you want to learn about wine, you got to try a lot of different things, I think. It just helps to define your palate. So why not try a little Greco? And anyway, so it's a beautiful wine, and Cantina del Taberno is the producer. It's located on the base of Mount Taberno, which is an inactive volcano. And one thing that characterizes the soil in the region is it's very volcanic. So all of these wines and their vines thrive in this beautiful soil. A lot of the vineyards are actually at altitude, which also helps to produce beautiful wines. This winery was established in 1972 originally as a cooperative with 15 to 20 associates, and then it was bought by a larger consortium in the 1980s. But again, they're known for producing beautiful wines from the region, and the grape itself is considered an ancient grape. Greco is an ancient light-skinned grape variety known for its excellent acidity and very fresh, clean flavor profile. So let's go ahead and dive into our tasting. I'm parched. I need something to drink. So those of you who might be joining me for the first time, I like to do the 7 S's of tasting, which are see, swirl, sniff, sip, and swish. And then the last 2 are savor or spit. If I'm evaluating wine professionally, I generally spit, but because it's Friday, I always savor. So let's jump into our first S, which is see. And you can see this one's got some color to it. It's not as pale as a Pinot Grigio would definitely be, or even a Sauvignon Blanc. It's definitely got a very snappy, lemon yellow, almost golden color to it, which generally indicates that the wine has some personality, as I like to say. So there's no browning around the edges. It is the 2015 vintage. All of our whites are from the 2015 vintage. Because these wines all have a bright, beautiful acidity, they can age that long or maybe a little bit longer, and they're all showing very fresh and beautiful. So, and no browning, it looks fresh and gorgeous, and I'm gonna proceed with swirl and sniff. And again, we swirl the wine to really crank up the volume on the aromas so you can really get a sense of what the wine is about. So let me dive in. I'm telling you, you've got to seek out these wines. They're not like anything else you're used to drinking. Like on the nose, I'm getting beautiful notes, minerals, yellow apple, citrus, and a beautiful floral note too. And if you've been watching the show at all, you know I'm a sucker for a floral wine, whether it's a white or a red. I love wines with floral notes to them. They're so beautiful. So again, it's got beautiful aromatics. You know, you got to swirl it a little to kind of coax them out. I also let the wine warm up a little bit because that makes the aromas and flavors more easy to perceive. But again, just beautiful. So I'm going to roll into now sip and swish. Yes, and on the palate, it pretty much reflects what I was getting on the nose, but that beautiful cleansing acidity, it really, really does have a crisp acidity. I want to say close to what you'd find in an unoaked Sauvignon Blanc, just that bright acidity that like lights up your palate and instantly has you craving like something to eat. Yeah, beautiful acid, getting notes of lemon, lime, peach, beautiful minerality, and I was getting more lime blossom. It's more lime than lemon, this wine. Oh my God, that's beautiful. And maybe like a little tinge of honey, but not sweet. This is definitely a crisp, dry wine, but so much personality. There's no reason to suffer through, you know, bland wines. Like, I mean, I know I pick on Pinot Grigio a lot, but there's a lot of mass-produced Pinot Grigio out there, and probably the past at least 5 ones that I've tried kind of taste like water. So why drink that when you can drink something that just like puts a smile on your face and tastes good too? So man, that's beautiful. Yeah. Oh, gorgeous. Any questions about this wine so far? Let me see what y'all are saying. I'm gonna check in. Yeah. Oh, good. Heather says it's tasty. It's good. Your Alianico, awesome. I can't wait to get to mine. I mean, if you like big red wines, you have to be drinking Taurasi or Aglianico. The grape produces such beautiful wines, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Cheers, Laura. Oh, Deb says, welcome, sunshine. Welcome back, lady. So good to see you. Sorry you're not impressed with your Pinot, but maybe over the weekend you can run out and find one of these beauties from Campania. Oh, and Deb says, loving the Pinot, not the red Italian. Oh, gotcha, but maybe tomorrow. Yeah, and you know what? You know, every wine isn't for everybody. And that's part of why tasting is so important, because not only do you discover wines you love, but, you know, you also kind of figure out what you don't like. And sometimes Italian wines are more mineral and earth driven than fruity. So if you tend to like more fruity wines, which is absolutely fine, then you learn that will kind of confirm that for you down the line. So, you know, it's all just exploration and empowering your own palate, as I like to say. So, has anyone ever had a Greco? Or sometimes you'll hear it referred to as Greco di Tufo, and that's from a specific region. That's a DOCG in the Campania region. This one is not from there. It's a Greco Beneventano, as I said before, which is a specific region that produces the grape. But anybody? Bueller? Anybody had Greco? No? Okay. If you have any more questions about this wine, chime in while I enjoy another sip, and we will move on to our next wine momentarily. Oh, that's nice. Okay. Oh, Roland says, I'm still learning about wines. I'm a neophyte. No, you're not. I'm a neophyte, building my mental library of tastes from scratch. I am loving learning. I am so glad. You've got some good experience under your belt though, Roland. And you're right. I think the best way to approach wine, even I, you know, yes, I have credentials, but you know what? I am constantly learning, constantly tasting, constantly honing my palate. In fact, today, to get ready for this episode, it had been a little while since I've had these wines, and it was so nice. It was like seeing an old friend, you know, or old friends as the case may be. And, you know, you're never going to know everything about wine. So it's constantly learning, enjoying, and defining what you like. So I'm so glad you take the time to join us. We enjoy having you. And Laura says, no, but looking forward to trying. Yes, I think you guys are really going to like this one, especially here in Florida. We should be drinking these whites all year long. All right, so let's jump on to our next white, which is also from Cantina del Taberno. And it is their Falanghina de Sanio. And it does have a funny name. I agree. I concur with that. Falanghina del Sanio. Again, you can say it says white wine from Cantina del Taberno. Again, the same shape bottle, which is kind of unique and cool. Oops. Hold on one second. I touched something. Okay, there. All right, but again, it's another white wine from Cantina del Taberno that we're gonna try next. So Sanio is actually, just checking something. Okay. And Falangina del Sanio is another DOCG in the region. Now, if you think of, and it's weird to think about the wines we enjoy here in the United States really don't have any laws applied to them, right? So any wine you have in California and you see like Sonoma or Napa on there, that's just a geographical designation. But when you're talking about old world wines, which are all of our European wine regions, which have been around for centuries, in many regions, they have to follow very strict criteria when it comes to producing their wine. So in California, basically, you know, if you want to put a grape variety on the label, 75%, the wine has to be 75% of that grape, and then you can blend in the remainder with kind of any grapes you want, really. But in this region, you're dealing with DOC, which is a certain level classification, and then the highest level is DOCG, which means that the wine not only had to follow certain criteria set forth by law, but then the wine had to be subjected to a tasting panel who ensure that the wines taste like wines from that region. So, and they're not just talking about geography and the exact grape variety. They dictate the yield per hectare, how much grapes can be harvested, when you can harvest, how long the grape has to age in bottle and in oak before it can be released. So there's so much more that goes into these wines that are labeled DOC and DOCG than any wine you're going to have in California, simply because we're getting to know our land in California. You know, so it hasn't all been set in stone yet. But when it comes to these wine regions, they want to preserve tradition. I mean, these wines have been made for, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years. So it's all in an effort to kind of preserve tradition. So Sanio, again, this wine it's also the 2015 vintage. $20 a bottle, folks. I mean, you can probably find this for 18 to 20. Beautiful, 13.5% alcohol, but just, again, a beautiful wine you definitely want to seek out. Falangina del Sanio. Sanio is just a hilly area near Naples where the vineyards are grown. This region was also referenced in literature. Again, you go back so far as referenced by philosophers including Pliny, Cato, and Horace. I don't know them personally, but I know they're important. But they describe the wines as having slightly smoky aromas and an intense resinous scent. Thankfully, winemaking techniques have improved since then, so that is not really what this wine is going to taste like now. So again, Falangina is another ancient Italian white wine grape, reportedly of Greek origin. And remember I was telling you the world's oldest wine before was Falernian. This is the grape that was believed to make that wine. So again, a very important grape to this region. And let's go ahead. And again, you're not going to find, they're not growing Falangina in California or anywhere else for that region. It's only really found in this specific little region of Italy. So let's dive into our tasting. This wine, it's 100% Falangina, and all of the whites were fermented entirely in stainless steel, which preserves their beautiful fruity character. So, all right, let's dive into our tasting. Now you can see, I think this wine is a little lighter in color than the Greco we just had. Definitely a little lighter. It's still got some color to it. It's definitely not clear, but it is kind of more of a star bright, pale lemon yellow color. So now I'm going to roll into swirl and sniff. Yeah, and I mean, so much different on the nose. It has a beautiful, almost saline aroma to it. Kind of smells like the sea a little bit. Beautiful minerality as well, and more floral, I want to say, than our Greco. Beautiful citrus blossom, white flowers, just it smells very clean and kind of delicate and beautiful. So let's roll into Sip and Swish. Yeah, so good. I wish I could give you guys a sip through the camera right now. That is so good. A little softer in the acidity than our Greco. a little rounder in the mouth, but it's got notes of citrus and ripe peach, green apple, pear. But beautiful. Again, a little softer, a little less acidic, and a little rounder of a mouthfeel. It coats the palate a little more than the Greco did. But again, beautiful wines. And that's the benefit. Like if you run to the store this weekend, pick up at least 2 of these wines. Either get a Greco and a Falangina, or any combination of these whites, and taste them back to back, because it's really going to give you a sense for how they differ, you know, and give you a better sense of the wine's personality. That's just beautiful. It's got a long finish. I can still kind of feel it on my palate and taste it. Like the finish is very floral and beautiful. Wow, that's nice. Yeah, definitely kind of ripe peach. Yeah, man, that's very, very nice. So let's see what you guys are saying. Oh, Deb says, this wine is from Campania, an earthy, robust 2015 Aglianico. I'm pouring again and trying again as not to be a party pooper. Don't you worry about that, lady. Swirl it around a little bit. 2015 is young for an Aglianico, and they are very intense tannic reds. So if you have it would be, honestly, that vintage would be a great wine to decant, or if you have your Venturi, pass the glass through that. But I think that might help it, or just swirl it. Continue to swirl. You can practice your swirling skills and aerate your wine at the same time. But they are very earth-driven big wines. So take that with a grain of salt, and and honestly, here's the deal. And this is going to be true of any wine we try all month. Italian wines are meant to be enjoyed with food. Say it with me. I know at home, Italian wines are meant to be enjoyed with food. The minute you put a plate of pasta or a bolognese sauce on it down on the table with that wine, it is going to change before your eyes. Italian wines are often a little, again, earthy, acid-driven wines. Sometimes when you take them or taste them initially, they're not that immediately friendly, but the minute you introduce food into the mix, it is going to, like, light bulb moment. So promise me you will, any ones you go out and try, and it doesn't have to be Italian food. It can be any food, but a lot of the reds can stand up to bigger flavors, and the whites have a lot of character too. So definitely play around with that. If I'm ever doing a tasting of Italian wines, I'm always sure to have some food there to pair with them, because they really transform once food is added to the mix. So thank you, Deb, for bringing that up, because I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not sitting around the house on a Tuesday sipping Aglianico. I'm just saying. Like if I'm having pasta or something, or a big steak or something like that, all day long. Like I would absolutely love that wine, but it can be a little abrasive, especially with a young vintage like that, to just dive in and sip. So you're not alone, sister. You're not alone. So any other questions about either our Greco or our Falangina del Sannio? Any questions about those wines? Well, I enjoy another sip. All right, looks like you all are doing good. Who's sipping along? Anybody else? I know that Deb and Heather have shared. And Roland, you got anything in your glass there? If so, you better fess up. So anyway, all right, so just a reminder, if you are watching this video and you're tuning in after the live broadcast, please go ahead and leave comments and ask questions as if you were watching it live. So, it's starting to feel like Friday, folks. All right, let's jump into our next wine. And we are switching producers. So our previous 2 wines were from the Cantina del Taberno. Now we are moving on to Donna Chiara. And this is the Fiano di Avellino is the grape variety there. That's very important to know. And Donna Chiara is actually a newer winery in the region, established in 2005. However, the family, it's the Petito family that runs it. They are 5th generation winemakers. They've owned vineyards and land in the area for a long time, and they are wholeheartedly dedicated to preserving these super special indigenous grape varieties. So yeah, they champion the cause of the region as well. And yeah, who is the gal? Ilaria Petito, it owns and runs the winery along with her family. But it's located in the Avellino area of Campania, and they do, again, both red and white wines, including Greco, Fiano di Avellino, and Terrassi, which we're going to get to next. But Fiano di Avellino is one of the DOCGs in the region as well, so that's our highest level of classification. So again, it had to not only follow all those stringent laws, but it had to be approved by a tasting panel who verified that it represented wines from the region. Yeah, and the DOCG is named after the Fiano grape. And the grape name, the grape actually dates back more than 2,000 years, folks. And this is the beauty of Italy. Every region has its own unique grape varieties that date back, I mean, to when God was a boy. I mean, you could devote your life to exploring Italian wines and never get bored. It's really just an amazing region. But the name of this grape comes from Vitis apiana, meaning vine beloved of bees, because it is known to have these beautiful aromas and flavors of honey. And I think that's why I love it so much. And it's also floral as well. In fact, the wine was appreciated back in the Middle Ages. Charles d'Anjou, the King of Naples, was so enamored with this variety that he had 16,000 Fiano vines planted in the royal vineyards. I mean, wouldn't that be nice? Steve, can you go plant some Fiano vines in the backyard? I'm going to try that actually. Maybe if I give him enough wine, he'll do it. We'll see. I'll let you know next week. So how wonderful that this grape that was, reported on back in the Middle Ages is still grown and nurtured and used to produce wines today. I think that's really cool. I geek out on the whole history of it all. So, all right, let's jump into this wine. I just want to make sure I didn't leave anything out. Again, it thrives on the beautiful volcanic soil. It's close to the Apennine Mountains. And again, very big temperature swing from night to day. In fact, you need that in virtually any wine region to produce great wines. The vines need to get warm enough in the day to ripen the grapes, and then at night it needs to get cool enough to shut down that function so the grapes can retain acidity. So there's our geeky moment. So let's dive into our first S, which is C. And would we say this wine is lighter or darker than the wines we've tried before? I'm looking for answers, guys. Lighter or darker? Some Italian wines. Yes, I'm always good for a history lesson. Anyway, I'm just going to say it's darker. It's darker. It's darker than the previous wines, right? You can see that wine has some golden color to it for sure. Definitely darker than our previous two wines. And you can even see some streaks going down the glass. It's still only 13.5% alcohol, but I don't know. That's just the character of the grape. So let's roll into swirl and sniff. Yes, and right away, compared to the other two, this is the most aromatic. Jumping out of the glass, God, there's beautiful, gorgeous notes of honey and white flowers. And specifically, I don't know about you, I'm kind of a honey geek, and I love acacia honey. This wine, to me, smells just like acacia honey that I put in my tea. Like beautiful honey and white flowers with a little kick of citrus. And can you tell which wine is my favorite out of the three? I'm trying not to be too biased, but it's just a beauty. So now I'm going to roll in, again, 2015 vintage, $19 a bottle, 13.5% alcohol. Now I'm going to roll in to Sip and Swish. Yeah, and definitely on the palate, more body, whereas the previous two, I'd say they were lighter bodied whites. This one definitely medium bodied, coats the palate, lots of flavor, lots of personality. Yeah, that's beautiful. Those notes of honey and flowers and citrus carry through on the palate, but friends, not sweet at all. It is not sweet. It is fruity. It is lively. It has a beautiful acidity, but not sweet. It finishes clean and dry. So if you like wines like that, with honey and floralness and, but also like your wine's dry, you're definitely going to like this wine. It's quite beautiful, I have to say. Yeah, beautiful tanginess. I mean, this would pair with everything from, like a goat cheese salad to shellfish to even a roast chicken, like a citrus roast chicken would be really good too. So Mimi asks, does it linger This wine lingers. It's got the viscosity that's kind of coating my palate. I can still taste it. Yeah, the finish on this is definitely longer than our previous two, but if you like your wine a little more crisp and clean, you might like either the Greco or the Falanghina more, but if you like a wine with maybe a little more body, then you might prefer the Fiano di Avellino. But definitely, I'm telling you, a lineup of just gorgeous white wines that you cannot beat anywhere in the world for this price. They're all under $20, $20 or under, I guess I should say, but just absolutely beautiful. All right, let me check in what you guys are saying. I see some stuff going on over here. So Mimi says, does it linger? Great question. Yes, wonderful finish. And Deb says, no reds today. Would I do that too? Well, I guess I just did recently. But no, we have a red to finish with. Yeah, Laura says darker. Good answer, good answer. Yeah, and you know what? If you like history at all, that it's such a fun way to explore wine, whether it's California wine, wines from Europe, and there's such history that goes along with it. Yeah, and Roland says, some Italian wines are only known in the local villages and not sold worldwide. That is so true. If you're ever over there, that's so true. Try to smuggle some stuff back in your luggage because you're never going to find it here, unfortunately. Deb says, Stephanie, I must book a flight and spend a weekend and enjoy. I'm so fascinated by your knowledge. I run to the winery library to purchase. I love it. I hope you enjoy, and I want to hear what you have to say. Oh, and Heather says, your Aglianico is from Basilicata. Aglianico, which we're going to roll into right now, is grown in not only Campania, 85% of it is grown in Campania, but there's that other percent that is grown in Basilicata. So that's one of the rare, one of these grape varieties that's grown outside of Campania. Deb says, we be my sister from another mister. You got it, lady. I thought we already were. Yeah, and you can't beat these prices. Oh, and Chrissy says, is this one good to pair with stone crabs? I would pair this Fiano di Avellino with stone crabs because they can be a little sweet sometimes, especially when you're eating them with the mustard sauce. So I would do this one. In fact, any shellfish that has sweetness to it, which can be clams or scallops, I always opt for a wine like this, the Fiano di Avellino, that's fruitier and has a little rounder mouthfeel than the more crisp, refreshing white. So that's a great question, considering how much we love them. Oh, Chrissy says, watching from Sabrina's. Hey, gals. Thanks for tuning in. Awesome. All right, I can see I'm going on and on. But again, if you have any questions about any of the wines, bring on those questions, folks. And I will move on to our final wine of the tasting, which is a red. I wouldn't leave you hanging. I know I have my red wine lovers there. And to be honest, the next few weeks, the tastings are going to be predominantly red. I just wanted to kick this one off because, again, I think there's that preconceived notion that Italian wines are mostly red and that the only white they have to offer is Pinot Grigio, which is not the case. So, again, this wine from Donna Chiara, and it is the Taurasi DOCG. Again, that highest level of classification we've been talking about. And the most important red wine grape in the region by far is the Aglianico grape. That's what it's all about It's the main red grape of Campania, hands down. It's used to make Taurasi, which 85% I think has to be Aglianico. You can blend a little something else in there. I think you can blend Sangiovese, Barbera, or there's another red grape. But again, it has to be predominantly Aglianico. And as I mentioned before, I feel like I've kind of already talked about this grape, but it is known for producing big, bold, long-lived wines. These wines can age like crazy. It's been compared by many wine experts to the great wines of Piedmont that are made from Nebbiolo, or your Super Tuscans, which are made with Sangiovese. Those wines sell for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. They are famous around the world. They are infinitely collectible. This wine, which is the Donna Chiara Taurasi di Umberto DOCG, 2012 vintage, folks, $35. I mean, it's crazy. It's the quality in all of these bottles, but when you're talking about red wines and you're talking about You know, just the quality, it's nuts. And again, 2012, the wine looks like it was bottled yesterday. We'll get to that in a minute with the tasting. But yeah, again, one of the old, Aglianico is one of the oldest, the region's oldest grapes, and definitely the most important. And the 3 Aglianico DOCGs, which are that highest level, they're Taurasi, which we're having right here, Taberno, and Volture. So those are just other ones to look for. If you go to the wine store and you're looking for a DOCG Aglianico based wine, those are the 3 they're going to have for you to pick from. But, and again, pick from either one. You don't have to pick this one, but it's probably the one you're going to find. It's probably the most common. So let's see. Yeah, and Donna Chiara generally makes 2 bottlings of the Taurasi. They do the Normale, and the Riserva. But back in this year, 2012, because it was such an amazing year, they made a special cuvée named in honor of Ilaria Petito's father, Umberto. So that's why this is called Taurasi di Umberto. How great, right? Wouldn't you love to have a wine named after you? I know I would. Anyway. That's a story for another day, actually. So again, this wine is 100% Aglianico. It's around 14% alcohol, not too crazy. It could be much bigger. And actually, they make another wine. We're not tasting it today, but I brought it to show you because this wine, which is their Irpinia Aglianico, was on Wine Spectator's Top 100 Wines of 2017. It was actually number 71. This wine retails for about, I think, $20 a bottle. I mean, it's crazy. It's such a great value. But anyway, you might find that around too, but we didn't have time to taste all of them because I had to remain vertical during these tastings. But anyway, so let's go ahead and jump in to our tasting. And you can see this is a 2012, yet no browning. It's still got a beautiful garnet purple color, but very opaque. I mean, you're not reading through this wine, folks, so we know it's going to have some big tannins. And it's going to be big fun. So, but yeah, it looks gorgeous. I'm seeing a little bit of streaking, the legs coming down the side of the glass, which don't tell us much except they kind of give us an idea that we're talking about a bigger wine with a little higher alcohol. So next we're going to roll into, roll in sniff. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah, and very aromatic. Wow. Notes of black and red licorice, earth, sour cherry, and like savory herbs. Like I want to say marjoram and even a little bit of lavender going on. That is just gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Yeah, if you love a big, bold red wine and you don't want to have to spend $1 million, which I know a lot of these wines are, these great red wines are so expensive, you need to know about Taurasi and the Campania region. So love the aromas. Now I'm going to do a sip and swish. And even, gosh, that's nice. 2012 vintage, folks. I mean, a lot of wines, I don't know, you're not as full-bodied wines might not be doing so well. This is just, it still has grippy tannins. If you like tannins, you're gonna love it. But beautiful notes of just mouth-filling flavors of sour cherry, red roses. What I say, I love me a floral wine. I mean, a beautiful like red rose, earth, raspberry. God, that's nice. Leather. And again, kind of just brings everything together. God, that is just, I mean, if I did not know how much this wine cost, I would probably say it was somewhere around 70, 75, from anywhere from $55 to $75. That is just a really, really beautiful bottle. Wow. Anyway, so I got to go get my purple teeth on now, folks. So any questions about any of our Campania wines today? Let me see what y'all are saying. Nothing like a maple bacon burger in Aglianico Italian. Yum. Oh my God, that sounds good. I wish I had that too. Mimi says, how long would I age this one? Given it's a 2012, honestly, based on the mouthfeel and the tannins, you could probably age this wine another 10 years and it would still be delightful. Because you've got the acid, you've got the tannin, and those are the Botox of wine, as we know. They allow wines to age with grace, and it's beautifully balanced. So even though it's a 20, yeah, it could definitely age another 10 years. But in general, I mean, yeah, you could age Aglianico wines, you know, the DOCG wines like 20, 30 years, you know, depending on how you like your wine. I like my wines with a little bit of fruit in it generally. So, I mean, I think this is drinking beautifully right now. So, but again, it's up to you and how you like to drink wine. And if you like your wines fruitier, you want to drink them when they're younger. If you like them a little more earth or, you know, earth driven or less fruity, hang on to your wines a little longer. That's the, you know, there's no right or wrong when all aged wine is not going to taste good to you. So you need to learn, you know, what your palate likes. And again, there's no, like, as I like to say, everyone's palate is different, but nobody's palate is wrong. So it's all about exploring and learning what you like. Let's see, I want to make sure I've gotten all your questions. Oh, Jeremy, good to see you in Oklahoma. Fabulous. We've missed you. Where have you been? Oh, and Deb says, what's the strongest wine volume in alcohol? Generally, you can find wines up at like 16% alcohol. I mean, if we're talking non-fortified wines, port are usually around 20. But if we're talking like dry, still wines, people don't usually go over 16% because then it gets a little nuts. And you get a little drunk too fast drinking those wines. So generally that's at about, like your Zinfandels, your California Zins can top up at about 16. But I mean, yeah, 15, 16, that's pushing it. But need to help her finish the, yeah, I wish you guys could come over and help. My husband's like standing outside the door. When can I come in and drink? So, Deb says, in my older age, I'm digging the whites. Yeah, Deb says, in my older age, I'm digging the whites and sparkling wines. I love whites and sparkling wines. See, like, that's awesome. I could drink sparkling wine from now until infinity and be perfectly happy. I know, we all need to, yeah, girls' weekend drinking wine. That sounds like fun. All right. It's so fun hanging with you guys. I hope you all had a wonderful Easter weekend, a very relaxing holiday weekend last weekend. I missed you all, but I'm so glad to be back. We're going to have so much fun this month. And, oh, and Karen, hey lady, love to see you anytime you can join us. That goes for all of you. And I know some of you have work during this time and it's challenging. I so appreciate you tuning in, you know, when you have the chance. That means the world to me. I love seeing your questions pop up over the weekend. And I've so enjoyed you joining me today for our exploration of the wines of Campania. And I hope I've inspired you maybe to try something new this weekend or whenever you get a chance. I know we're all busy, but next time you're in that wine store, ask that wine clerk, do you have any wines from Campania? Not only are they going to think you're a wine expert, but you might discover something you really love. So on that note, oh, I know, Wednesday night show. You know, here's your question of the day, folks. I have toyed with moving the time of the show, either to a Saturday or Sunday or a weeknight, like a Wednesday or Wine Wednesday thing. If there is a time or a day that would work better for you, go ahead and leave it in the comment section. Because I would like to know. I'm not doing anything right away, but I know Friday at 5 can be a little challenging. I so appreciate you all taking the time to watch. Or if you think we should just keep it to this time, I'd love to know that too. So let me know. And with that, I will leave you all to embark on your weekend and have a great one. And as you know, I'll be back with you next Friday, April 13th, with another fabulous wine region from Italy. I'm so excited. I've got some great things in store for you guys. You're going to love it. So, all right. Thanks so much, folks. If you think of anything over the weekend, pop in, ask a question. I'll get back to you. You know I will. Oh, so Heather's, okay. I can't wait to hear what you're going to say. I'm going to pour over that. And we'll reconnect next week. So, again, happy weekend. Thanks so much for joining me. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Cheers.